All right, fellas, we're back for another week. This is the pre-playoff episode, so we are all in now. Greg does have a final regular season awards and shits to take care of. Matt Law is coming shortly. We have Kevin here as a guest. Mark is on IR, but he still showed up. He's limping in. And Antoine, I believe, will come at some point throughout when we go to preview for the playoffs. But Greg, you want to do the awards and your shits?
Yes, sir. So the final awards of the year, since we don't do this during the postseason, or normally we don't, we're going to start off with the MVP this week is Antoine with 245.64 points. Then we got our bum of the week again. We should rename this to the Nick Tuckfarber Award because Nick, again, with 103.34 points, but he at least got into triple digits this week. Then the nail biter of the week is Jacob over Jimmer in the Pooper Bowl by 10.86 points.
And then we don't set our fucking lineup, Paul.
Right, exactly. And finally, the blowout of the week is myself over Nick, which that shouldn't come as a surprise. So, yeah, that's the awards for the week. And it looks like we have another guest that hopped on, another playoff contender. Antoine, what's up?
Going on, fellas? How's everybody?
You good? Pretty good?
Oh, man.
I have a little bit from last week. You're welcome, Mark. That's your Christmas present for beating me to get in the playoffs. and you burned. I had a really good trash talk ready, so I'm gonna have to save it for next year. I was all locked and loaded with the trash talk ready to go, just in case I beat him and it did not go my way. So we're just gonna have to save that in the old video for later. We'll use it next year on somebody. But no, I mean my team pooped the bed honestly last week. Chase didn't do what he normally does. 5.9 points. I mean, you can't win. That's my number one player basically. So that's rough. Jordan Love, I don't know. Some reason I guess he didn't want to pass the ball to Reed, but there was some running going on. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the games. I was well in bed before that crap started. I had a long early morning. So, but I woke up to Jaden Reed having a bunch of points, but not Love. And I'm like, then I read it, and I guess he was running a lot, which is horse shit. He's a receiver. Pass him the damn ball so I can get points too. But I think the key matchup for me was Garrett Wilson over Chase, the 22.1 over the 5.9. That really ravaged me right there, and got Mark in. I will give Matt a little props saying I should have started. What the hell's his name from Detroit? Gibbs, because he did outscore Achane, but it wouldn't have won me the game, so it wasn't like that hurtful because, I still would have lost. It was the big leaving London on my bench, getting 31 points, but I don't expect him to do that every week. And when I'm fighting for the playoffs, I'm not going to switch it up. I'm definitely not going to put him over Chase. That's insane. So that's kind of my recap of what happened to me. Greg slid into that number one seed again. He does not deserve that. We all know that, but he's there. So
it says
that is what it is. On that,
I won't trust the app over you.
What was that?
I won't trust the app over you on this one.
Yeah. So, Greg, you want to recap your waxing of Nick Tuckfarber?
Yeah. I would do want to first. I'll say I'm limping into the playoffs. Had some big injuries this week, unfortunately. Luckily, I was playing against Nick, so I was playing for the seeding. Wasn't too concerned about winning my game, but was keeping more an eye on the Mark and Brian game, and even more so the Andy Kevin game until Kevin let me down. So I was like, well, I guess I have to do it myself, and then with an assistance from Mark. Mark, thank you for the early Christmas gift. So I was keeping an eye on that. But for as far as my game goes, I didn't really keep a whole lot of tabs on it because, like I said, I was really confident. I think going into the week, I already started like at 70% favored to win or something like that. So I'll touch on yours, Brian. I would never have guessed going into that week that Garrett would have outscored Chase like that. I would have think it'd be flip-flopped if you told me the numbers. Nothing against Garrett, obviously. It's just that Jets offense, but I don't know what the hell happened to Zach Wilson. I know I was scoreboard watching some at the Bengals game, and I kept seeing the Jets score get higher and higher. They scored like a month's worth of points for them in one game. But yeah, I guess I don't really have much else with mine. It was fun seeing the playoff rush to end there. I think Antoine having all the points he had this year really helped him feel better getting into it. But Marcus Lawrence got in over Marcus Steele, which was my prediction. So my apologies there.
Which I'm not mad at. That's the part of losing that I'm not mad at, is that M-Law got in over M-Dot, so we got that trash Steelers fan the hell out of our playoffs and
There you
back down
go,
to
see?
the bottom. So I accept this a lot more than I probably should. Maybe I'm just justifying a loss, but M-Dot not being there makes me happy inside. So
Yeah, you probably prefer that if you took the loss to get Marcus out, that you would also prefer Kevin to beat Andy so you can still have a bye week.
yeah, but Kevin's not good enough to help me out with that. He just happens to be in the playoffs. Just happens though. Antoine, do you want to touch on any of your recap from last week while you're here?
Oh, for sure. Definitely want to speak on it because first and foremost, yeah, I felt confident that my team could make a run, but it's fantasy football, right? So we just never know what's going to happen. And that Thursday night kind of started off a little worrisome. I had Hunter Henry over there just randomly balling, getting 19 points on my bench. Juju came out of nowhere getting 13 points. So I'm like, wait a minute, like, it's not the time for me to leave a bunch of points on the bench. But thankfully my team came through. Lamar Jackson went absolutely crazy with the 46 points, and followed by Cook, who's been an amazing pickup with the trade. That was not collusion. I finally can speak to that in person. So
it shows more collusion because you're both
there.
in the playoffs.
Hey, that just comes from good trading. But Cook stood up for me, especially with Pacheco randomly being out. So had some concerns there, but thankfully my team just did pretty darn good, even with the likes of Tyreek Hill only putting up 10 points. But Deebo Samuel, another great pickup trade,
collusion
coming through with the 42 points. So just hoping the team can continue this momentum going into the playoffs. But overall, pleased with my performance, even though left some points on the bench. But even that whole thing with having to pivot from Pacheco and moving Cook into my number one running back spot and picking up Odell Beckham to fill that flex, he randomly had 21 points. So when things are clicking, they're clicking. So grateful that it all worked out, and here we are from 1-4 to in the playoffs, baby.
It'll be an early exit. But Kevin, do you want to touch on you want to give us an explanation of how you're in the playoffs? Because none of us can figure out how the hell you got here.
Oh yeah, I scored a shitload of points and won some games. So that's how I got in the playoffs. I don't know if you know how this works or not, but
I do, because I've scored more points than you, so I do know that.
Yeah, you did.
So
you did. That's true.
and I beat you, so that's.
I want to comment a little on Antoine. So I did a little. I don't have it with me. I got rid of it, but I ran some numbers about what would happen if just us playoffs teams, us 6 teams, played one another throughout the entire year. Antoine, over half his games either would have won all 5 games or lost all 5 games against all other playoff teams. I think it was 7 games that he would have either came in first or last. So he's either extremely hot or extremely cold. So you got to hope to catch him when he's cold. That being said, also want to apologize to Andy just a little bit, because this really isn't his fault. This is Brian's fault for crowning Andy as like the Super Bowl incumbent at week 6 or some shit like that, just because he was in first base. Andy's a playoff team, but is his team good enough to get the bye and be the 2nd seed? I don't necessarily think so. I think whoever wins between Brian and Antoine this week we'll probably end up in the Super Bowl. But I will speak to our game this week. I ended up with the third most points in the league, so I'm not overly upset or worried going into playoffs. My team's healthy for the most part, and they're putting up numbers. Andy's team just went off. Like Greg said, Zach Wilson coming through with almost with a little over 23 points. Bijan getting 22. That's expected. But DJ Moore with 27 is insane. Evan Ingram with 35 is nuts. His fucking kicker had 22 points. What is that shit? So things just went right for Andy this week. I still scored the third most points, and the playoffs were already kind of decided for me, and I wasn't playing for a bye. So I'm in. I'm excited. I'm happy I'm on my side of the bracket with Mark and Greg. I really think the two biggest contenders here are probably Antoine and Brian. If Antoine can get hot, and Brian, like I said, continues to just score a lot of points. So I'll go there. My comments to Andy being a poser just had to do with the fact that he was in first place and he got a second round bye, and he has the 5th most points in the playoffs. So typically points lead to wins. That's not, hasn't been the case this year.
All right, so
would
what I'm
say-
hearing is the Legends Bowl is me and Antoine round 1. Other than that, no one matters. I agree with that, Kevin. I can say I do agree with that. Mark, do you want to touch on your roller coaster of emotions that was our game, and you're sinking into the playoff?
Well, I tried to tell you guys last week that I was going to make the playoffs, and none of you believed me. So Matt, Brian, and Greg, you can all fuck right off. But no, I was worried going into the Monday night game. I did not think Tua going up against Tennessee would only get me 9 points, but we saw the effect that Tyreek Hill has, and that did not help matters. And the line could not block a small child from sacking Tua, so that didn't help matters any. Was really happy with Spears. He's been very up and down this year, but he put up a lot of points. He put up 17 points. I'm really pretty solid. Really, overall, pretty happy with most of my players, other than my kicker, who got me 0 points. So, and Khalil Mack kind of let me down with only 6.5, but Spillane and Bates kind of been consistent for me. I thought Smith was going to give me a little bit more, but Dallas just kind of wrecked the Eagles Sunday night, so did not see that coming. So I'm hoping he gets bounced back this week. But I'll get more into my matchup later on. But I thought that I'm concerned with Tua going over against the Jets. Prior to last night, that was his worst game of the year so far. So it'll be interesting.
All right, Matt, you got your diary of a wimpy kid on you. You want to touch on some stuff from last week?
I mean, the only things I want to touch on is even if I would have won the last 3 weeks, I still wouldn't have made the playoffs. Points totals would have still gotten me. Once again, player on my bench goes for 20-plus points. Chase Brown, the Bengals decide to actually use him for once, and lo and behold, he had 60-yard screen pass for a touchdown. That sucks. Mark, it sucks that he's on my bench and that I didn't make the playoffs. Mark and Antoine squeaking out, making the playoffs. Congratulations. No need to self-gloat there, Antoine, but more power to you. You're probably going to get bounced in the first round. Despite the ridiculous amounts of points with your kicker scoring, as it was just stated, 20 points. I don't think it's happening. You have these tremendous points outbursts, but I don't think that your playoff is going to be long. Nick, worst team ever. It's kind of sad that we don't have like a gimme game to I don't even have to look at that matchup because I can just chalk that up for an L. And then congrats to Greg and Andy. They get to watch from the Joe Burrow suite up in the top layer of Paul Brown Stadium. Hopefully, Jake Browning's girlfriend can come up there and visit you because smoke show. I don't know if you saw her when they kept cutting away. Man, she's hot AF. So enjoy that. And then other than that, I think aside from Mark, I think it played out how we all predicted last week. Pretty sure if I look back, Antoine was predicted to win. I still don't think that his playoff stay is going to be long. I really feel that. I mean, I think that Kevin has the strongest team left, and I mean, I think he's the problem for all of you guys. So hopefully the matchups work out in your favor, but my money's on Kevin. But again, I'm in 13th place, so all of my fantasy prognostications that have worked out in this league have not worked out, and we'll see how it goes.
I
Right.
have 2 questions.
Yeah.
1, are you high?
No.
All right. 2, how's Kevin gonna be a problem when he's watching us next week?
Did he not make it in? No.
He's in.
He beat Mark.
He's in, but I'm saying he's gonna lose this week, and then
No.
and he won't be on the podcast next week or anything. It'll be
You just hope because you haven't ever been able to beat me in fantasy football.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Mark has Tua, and they lost Tyreek Hill. I doubt that he's going to be 100% next week, and we'll get into that. But yes, Kevin's a problem for you. You have Josh Allen, the one-man wrecking crew, and it's problems for you guys.
Hey,
Josh
Brian,
Allen is on a mission.
mute him.
Hey,
Mute him. Mute him.
Yeah.
Take control.
Hey Matt,
Hey, what?
I tried to tell you. I think it was like we had 4 weeks left that you didn't have a chance of making the playoffs. There's no saying we're right. You lost
Yeah.
to a guy the week prior that didn't even set his lineup.
Mhm.
So a whole lot of trash talk from a guy who's sitting at the bottom of the basement, kind of where you belong with your team.
Oh,
Okay.
And
I think
you
he
were
was making some
wrong
very good points.
with we were talking about Andy's kicker, not Antoine's. So you were sadly mistaken on that, just with your pick that you're going to make that I already see coming. So you can doubt me. That's fine.
I am going to doubt you. I'll doubt all of you. Now I'm just going to talk shit and heckle the fuck out of all of you because I'm in the cheap seats. I'm just looking in on the playoff games. Yes, did I actually think
You really muted him.
that's fine? That's fine. I'll keep quiet. Why don't we move on? Why don't we move on then? And then I'll fucking let it go when we do the matchup.
And Matt, I will say you're probably better at shit talk than you are at fantasy football. So
Okay.
we'll give you.
You just soak it all in right now because as a dynasty, you have to start out small. This is my first year doing it. I've gotten used to the ropes, and you're in for a rude awakening moving forward. So
Sounds like something you
cherish
would have
the
told your
fact
first
that I'm in
girlfriend.
13th this year because you fuckers are in trouble.
I will say that's a good segue to my question I have for Antoine. Is this your first dynasty that you're in?
It is. Yep. First dynasty. So,
How do you like it, or is it how much different is it?
so definitely a lot different, right? The regular leagues we're playing for like just 1 year, but like you have to be very mindful of like decisions you make in one season and how it's going to affect you moving forward. So like wrapping my head around the people that I have on my team are going to be with me for quite some time, making sure you make wise decisions. So definitely like it. Found myself enjoying it a lot more as finally start winning. I wasn't that fond of it early on when I was 1-4, but here we are, made some good moves and feeling good about it. So definitely looking forward to it in the long haul.
I will say, obviously, winning is the best, but there is something to be said about a rebuild. It's like gives you some more off-season time to think about football. Because I'm kind of in a rebuild in my other dynasty, and there is something to be said about it. Obviously, you want to win first. That's the number one. We all know that. But, there is some fun to just rebuilding and trying to deep dive into young players or college players you might not think about, just there is something to be said about that as well. So it's kind of fun on that end. But I just want to ask you that because we had we asked Kevin weeks ago when he was on, it's your first time. So, but
Yeah.
Mark, you want to lead us with some picks for next year or next week? We only have 2 games to go. So the first one is Kevin Bryant 19 versus yourself.
I know this is going to come to a surprise. I'm picking Kevin. No, I'm picking myself.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it. Kevin's going to be a tough team to beat. He already whooped me prior to when we played before because his linebacker just decided to score 85 points a game. But the resurgence of Josh Allen and that team is really concerning to me. His team's clicking pretty good. I will take my receivers over his. He has Kelsey, so see if Kansas City can figure out how to play offense this week and not complain that Kadarius Toney can't figure out where the ball is on the field. Crosby is questionable. He has that. I can't say this anymore. I hate your linebacker because he's so good.
Crosby's been questionable all year. It's like the second the game is over, he goes to questionable, and I wait all week for them to move him to healthy on game day. I don't think he's made a practice all year.
I'm hoping Robinson comes back for me, but if not, I'm just going to ride with Spears, who's a couple of good games. But we will see. But I am going to take myself this week.
Does make sense. I will also take Mark, mainly based off the fact he beat the best team in the league last week to just get into the playoffs. So he's got the hot hand. He's beaten some big dogs just to climb in. So, and Christian Watson's out for now. So if he comes back, maybe he'll be a little closer than I'm thinking. But overall, I do believe this will be the blowout of the week. Because there's only 2 games. So you're going to beat him by more than I will beat Antoine. I'll say that. Because Antoine's more of a legit competitor than Kevin. Kevin, would you like to throw in a pick?
Oh, yeah, I think I'll pick on this one. I'm going to take myself. I'll go through and kind of rehash a lot of what Mark just said. You got Josh Allen clicking all cylinders with that new offensive coordinator. They're playing Dallas. It's going to be a high-scoring game, so I expect Josh Allen to show up there. Cincinnati's starting to use Joe Mixon on a more consistent basis. He was already having a great year. Now that they're starting to feed him, he's looking better. Saquon can be hit or miss, but he had a great week last week. Hoping Christian Watson comes back. I am a little concerned with the receiver room. Adam Thielen has kind of fallen off in Carolina as the season's gone on, scoring fewer and fewer points almost every week, it seems like. However, Amari Cooper did get 14 targets last week from Flacco, and they're playing Chicago, so I'm thinking he'll be all right there. Kelsey hopefully gets pissed off about the so-called bullshit call that was a legit call in Kansas City and goes off. But you know what they say, defense wins championships. And I would bet that if you figured out most points scored on the defensive side of the ball this year, my team probably comes up pretty close to the top there between Olu Okon and Max Crosby. So I've got a couple, even if those guys don't go, I've got quite a few decent linebackers in my on my bench. So feeling pretty confident against Mark. Like the matchup there. And like I said, I've got favorable matchups kind of across the board with my team. So feeling pretty good and excited to play Greg, who's limping into the playoffs after.
Speaking of Greg, you want to pick?
Sure. I will start that Kevin's never beat me in the playoffs. This is his first time being there. So, but anyways, I think this game is actually going to be closer than what Brian's saying. I like Mark's wide. Brian's distracting me. His dance moves. I like Mark's wide receivers better. But I like Kevin's quarterback better with the situation with Tyreek Hill and Brian's favorite Alabama quarterback. But I think Josh Allen's gonna have a big game against Dallas, but you gotta watch out for he's guaranteed to throw an interception. But if you can deal with -2 points versus whatever other points he's gonna get, you might be all right then. Cincinnati is using Joe Mixon a lot more. I like the attack that Cincinnati is using with him and Brown. And using more of the run game, and even Joe catches some short passes. Also being a homer a little bit there, we'll admit. But really, I'm gonna go down to what Kevin was saying with Oloaquan or whatever. I can't say his name, but he's a wrecker. And then Max Crosby. I think Kevin's gonna win this game, but I'm rooting for Mark just because Kevin Kryptonite is my kryptonite. So I'm going with Kevin.
All right, Antoine, you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, like I kind of agree with Greg. I think it's going to be a close matchup, but just sitting here evaluating the teams, I do give the nod to Kevin. Mark, I think you've done fantastic job just like getting scrappy and getting into the playoffs, but I think there's a little too much firepower here with Josh Allen seems to be clicking with Joe Brady as the coordinator. And Josh Allen's one of those quarterbacks that kind of does it all. He'll break off for a scramble, 30, 40 yards. He'll, he's interception prone for sure. But I think he's one of those scary people that can just put up points. I don't know who they're playing though, but he usually Dallas. Oh, so that might be a high scoring game. He's going to do a whole lot to just kind of will his team to hopefully a victory for them, possibly. I don't hope they win, but you know what it is. But I give the nod to running backs as well. Like Kevin's running backs are really strong with Joe Mixon and Saquon. As we've all talked about, like the resurgence of Joe, like getting in on a screen game and just willing himself in the end zone these last couple of weeks. But the wide receivers, I will give you the nod, Mark. But overall, I think Kevin has a lot of firepower here, so I'm gonna give him the nod.
And I want to follow it up and say nothing fires up a running back like somebody breathing down their neck to take their job, and Chase Brown's definitely doing that.
Yep, that's true. And they look good together too.
They do.
The Elder Lawrence, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. And the future prospects of Chase Brown look very nice for my dynasty future. I'm picking Kevin, and I think we've all touched on it as I was fiery about Josh Allen is a one-man fucking wrecking crew. He is a man possessed to get Buffalo to the playoffs. I do like Dallas's defense, but I like Josh Allen with the eye of the tiger more. So I like that matchup. I do not like Tua against the Jets, also with a unhealthy Tyreek Hill, who proved he should be in high consideration for the MVP by the fact that the Dolphins offense looked like shit against the Titans without him in there. The running backs and the defense for Kevin are going to pave the way. I do like Tajay Spears moving forward in Tennessee's offense. Like right now, it seems like Derrick Henry's like holding on to those touches, but they're starting to give the leash a little bit more to Spears because he can do a little bit more out of the backfield. I don't like Javonte Williams this week. Again, Mark's wide receivers do look solid. I am a little worried about Philadelphia's offense with how injured or uninjured Hurts is. He hasn't really seemed like himself. And I can't remember what show it was on, but they were talking about it looked like Hurts was like falling away from his passes or bailing on routes. And that seemed to be like an injury reaction, not like he's able to step into those throws, kind of like how Burrow was in the early part of this year before he started to get healthy. So, yeah. And I think that Jacksonville linebacker may be MVP of our league. And him and Max Crosby are going to send Mark back home to Landon and the family with an L, like our last name. Sorry, Mark. But you're going down.
I mean, you got to root for something, Matt, because you can't root for your team in the playoffs. So
You're right. In all fantasy leagues this year, I did not make the playoffs, so
Oh,
I'm a little jaded towards fantasy this year, but you'll have that. So
I've
I'll
never
talk
had
about
that. I've
Well.
never had that.
till next year, man. Till next
I've
year.
never had that. All right, so next matchup is myself versus Antoine. Mark, you want to start off with picking me?
As much fun as that sounds, going with your luck against people that you've already played doesn't bode well. And he gave you a Jordan meme.
No. Because I beat you last time is why I lost, but I lost to him the first time, so we're gonna reverse that Jordan meme around.
I'm actually going to take Antoine on this one. His team is just clicking on all cylinders in the right time.
You mean your
Well-
team that you gave him the players in inclusion?
Sure. Lamar going against Jacksonville. I mean, James Cook is just firing on all cylinders. They figured out that if they actually give him the ball or throw him the ball, he actually does fairly well. He is going against Dallas. Debo has just been absurd. I mean, his last 2 weeks that he's played, he has 83 points in 2 weeks. So just solid numbers. Adams, we'll see if Adams gets back in the shuffle. Taking on Colin going against the Chargers. Garrett, I do like. This is really hard with us having to go back and forth between these things. First world problems.
Are you all able to
I
see
feel
the
like
matchups? I
Kyron
can't find the
Williams-
matchups. Like you can't see. I can't see who Antoine's team's playing against. Like who his players are playing against.
No, like apparently, up like tomorrow when they make the stat corrections, then they'll show like the actual matchups. But I was having to struggle to do the same thing.
Sorry to cut you off, Mark. Go ahead.
You're good. I mean, I do think Chase will get back on track going against Minnesota. Addison and Hawkinson, we'll see if they can get back in the fold with Mullins throwing them the ball. Because, I mean, we saw Addison had a pretty off game. I do like Brown. He's been really solid, and A-Chain is always a solid player. But I'm going to go with the hot hand, and I'm taking Antoine.
Well, that's a horrible pick. So I'll go with obviously I'm gonna pick myself. I do believe it's gonna be a nail biter of the week. I joke about the Jordan meme thing. I think this one will be a nail biter. So it's gonna be close. I will give him, he's had teams go off, but like Kevin said earlier, it's boom or bust with him a lot with his players. And my team's been outside of last week, I think was their most inconsistent week. That was their bad week. So I've been pretty consistent. So I do have confidence in that they'll bounce back. And as long as we all, get points. My biggest concern is the Vikings quarterback situation. They went from Dobbs to I don't even know the dude's name, but he controls I think that it might help the tight ends because a lot of the, like I said last week, rookies and young backup quarterbacks like to feed tight ends as a safety blanket. So I think that'll happen this week. So I think Hawkinson can bounce back. I mean, with being the number one overall tight end, so I'll get some touchdowns there. Addison's my biggest worry because I don't know how he's going to use him. With Jefferson possibly being out again, though, that gives me confidence that he'll at least be wide receiver 1. So I'll probably leave him in there. I don't want to get caught up in the emotion of Drake London dropping 31 in a week and then let me put him in real quick, and then he shits the bed because that's what always happens to me. So, but I will give Antoine. He's got Lamar. He's got Debo. And Tyreek's probably not going to be held down again. But I think it's going to be closer than what people think. I know it's like you got the big names on his team, so it's kind of like flashy and the glitz. It's kind of like Colorado Buffaloes at the beginning of the season. Everybody's like, oh, my God, this is the greatest team of all time. And then they, poop the bed. So I think that's kind of the scenarios going on right now is they're still on the hype train of the collusion trade that happened between Mark and Antoine. And everybody sees these nice, shiny, bright toys and all these Ferraris on his team. But we have the grit. We're going to, we're more like the Lions, dude. We're going to get there because I have some Lions. We're going to grit our way to victory. We're going to grind. And we're going to win the dirty game that matters. And we're going to move on to the second round.
Did the Lions win last week?
I have no idea. I didn't watch that game, but I'm just saying generally they're a gritty team. Can you agree with that, or are you too dumb to understand how that works?
I mean, their defense sucks, and they lost to the Bears, so you can take that for what
So
you
all
want.
year we're gonna wash away the rest of the year. You're right for one game. You guys are imbeciles. Kevin, would you like to pick?
I think you should go to Antoine since he's playing against you.
We're going in order of how my screen goes.
Oh, all right. Well, that works too.
It's
I'm
done.
picking Antoine. You know, I think your team's cooling down. I think Antoine's is heating up. So you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just lit the world on fire at first and has really kind of slowed down a little bit. Curious to see how they play with A-Chain with Tyreek out. I know that's running versus wide receivers, but they could go to a more run-heavy game that could help you a little bit. But they may clue the defense on what they're doing because all they can do is run, which may hurt you a little bit. So I think that's kind of a toss-up there. But Antoine's team is pretty hot right now. You got Lamar, I hate to say it, doing very well, getting points all day long. James Cook again against Dallas. I think any offensive team, any team playing against Dallas, their offensive players are going to have good numbers. He does possibly lose Tyreek Hill, which I think hurts him a little bit, but Debo has come on lately. So yeah, I think I've got to give it to Antoine. I think you got to do something with Odell Beckham Jr. because I don't think he's going to have a repeat of that. But I am giving it to Antoine.
All right, Greg, you're on the screen next.
I'm next. All right.
Bottom
So
left.
I think this is going to be a close game as well. I don't think it's going to be like the regular season matchup where Antoine got away with assault on you. So this is kind of like we already hit on it. It's hard to compare because I can't see them side by side. So bear with me here. I do like
a little pre-work in, guys. A little pre-work in. Like a notepad.
I like Antoine's quarterback better. I don't know what the deal was with Jordan Love last night. He has seemed very inaccurate. So that's concerning. And then also Christian Watson, if he's out again. I don't know. I don't understand Green Bay this year. And unfortunately, Lamar is playing really well. At this point, see, I'm trying to think who the Ravens play this week.
Jaguars. They play the Jaguars.
That's right. Thank you. So I think Antoine has the edge there. I do think Jamar is going to bounce back this week. I think he's going to have a big game. I think he's going to show his teammate on the other sideline from college, Justin Jefferson, how you really do it. No, nothing against JJ, but come on, we got Jamar. So I think Jamar is going to have my prediction is he's going to have a long, exciting touchdown. That's going to cause Dave Lapham to go crazy. If you guys listen to it on the radio, yeah, I don't either, but I'm just
Lapham's
saying,
an imbecile.
he's going to go nuts. Jordan Addison's interesting because I like him, but I don't know what's been going on lately, and I'm concerned about the quarterback situation that Brian already hit on. It's like Mullins or something. I don't even know who it is, but I'm happy as a Bengals fan that's going on. So I think Addison's going to have a down week, but I think Hawkins is going to have an up week. So the tight ends are typically a safety net for backup quarterbacks. I have heard reports that Justin Jefferson might play Saturday as well, so that could affect things with Addison. A-Chain could do some stuff. It seems like Mostert is their main guy from the little bit I saw last night. I will say it's hard to watch two games at once, but I tried it on the Manning cast, and that was harder than probably not watching any games. But yeah, so that's some of the things I want to hit on Brian's team, and then over on Antoine's team, you know, the wide receivers, we already hit on that. It's kind of crazy to me that Devontae Adams is his worst starting receiver, only because Raiders don't know how to use him. Like I said before, Tyreek Hill being interesting to keep an eye on. I don't think even if he plays, he will be 100%, which is a reason why I think this game is going to be close as well. Deebo Samuel's killing it, and they're playing against the Arizona Cardinals this week, who's one of the worst teams in the NFL. Tanner Hudson, I think he's going to continue to get some good numbers. I think that'll help him there. And yeah, and then he has Zaire Franklin as linebacker, and you'd be like, who's that? He's a linebacker that got 36 points last week, and they're playing against the Steelers offense this week. So in this game, the game for the round one, I'm gonna go with the hot hand. I'm gonna go with Antoine as well, but I think it's gonna be a close game and should be a fun one to watch.
All right, Mr. Watson,
Let me-
you're
I
up.
was gonna say, let me hear it, Brian. Imbecile,
No,
idiot.
no. I'm ignoring you. You don't know what you're talking about. So, Mr. Watson, your turn.
No, I appreciate it. Just gonna keep it simple. I think I have the stronger team. I think I was meant to come to the playoffs to specifically beat you. I forewarned you. I said you better pray that I don't make it to the playoffs, and here I am. And I'm just gonna outwill you. I feel like your team is just not ready. I don't think it's gonna be close. I just wanted to talk some stuff because you've been talking all this time. I finally get a chance to say something on the podcast. But no, seriously, I respect Brian's team. I think he has a really strong team. Record shows that 10-4 is not an easy record to obtain. So respect there. I am still going to take my team. Feel like we've been hot at the right time. I feel like quarterback play on my end has been pretty good. I like my matchup going into this week. It does concern me that Tyreek Hill tweaked that ankle. So, I don't know if I can expect the big numbers from him. Like I got 10 last week. So we'll see. But I think some things to be concerned for you is that Vikings, like Addison, what's going to happen there with the new quarterback? Is JJ really going to play? Is it going to take some targets away from Addison? So I think with those given things that, are unknown, I think I have a little bit more of an edge with what I'm going into the season with or going into this game with. Think my players are all in stable places right now where there's good quarterback play, good offenses running, like their matchups of who they're going against. So with those things being said, I do think I will edge it out, but I do think it'll be the game of the week.
Are you picking yourself?
Picking myself.
Game of the week. Matthew Lawrence, your turn to save the day and pick old Brian Bay.
At first, I was leaning towards Brian because he has been
First.
a stud team.
At last.
But the more I've looked at the matchups and heard people talk, I realize you have one of my least favorite things going for you, and that's you have five players in 2 games. So depending on how the offense plays, for one of those, it can go terribly south for you. I do think that if you play Stafford ahead of Jordan Love, you'll have a better chance this week. They are playing Washington.
That's a possibility too.
Kyron Williams has come on since he came back from IR. He's been a pretty solid fantasy player. I think when he's played, I'm pretty sure he's in the top 5 of points per game. All those good rushing statistics. I don't trust Tampa Bay's offense, so I don't like White just based on their offense and Tampa Bay's overall lackluster performance, aside from Mike Evans putting up Hall of Fame numbers. I just think that the only thing that may hinder Antoine is Tyreek Hill. The rest of his lineup, I think, is setting up pretty solidly. Lamar last week was he did have some rushing numbers, but I think he was 50% passing. However, one deep ball to Odell Beckham, you could get we get crazy bonus points for long touchdowns. So that's always a possibility. And yeah, because of Jamar Chase, Addison, Hawkinson being in the same game, it could be a defensive struggle. I think that the Vikings could make some adjustments. You don't know if Jake Browning is going to keep this magical ride. I do like the way he's playing, but again, he is a career backup, so you never know how that's going to go. The way this league's played this year, it's like one team looks great for a couple of weeks, and then the next couple of weeks they look like absolute trash. So this has been the hardest year I think ever as far as like trying to predict what's going to happen week to week. I know it's been a roller coaster for me, gambling on the spreads and whatnot. Even last night, Tommy Cutlets passing to Saquon Barkley. Giants looked terrible 3 weeks ago, and now they're running up and down the field with the Packers. So I just think, like I said, I just think that I just don't like the way that you have all those players in 2 games. So that's why I'm picking Antoine. Sorry, Brian. No shit talk, but next year when I have a better team. What, Greg? What?
I want to share a fun fact with y'all since you brought up Browning, and you're not wrong. It's been a weird year with like teams being so hot and then not. But fun fact, Brian and Antoine already know this because I shared it in our Who Day chat. But 2021, after your week 14, the Bengals were 7-6. The last 2 games of the season was against the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cleveland Browns. Fast forward to 2023, after week 14, Bengals were 7-6. The last 2 games of the season is against the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cleveland Browns. Our quarterback's initials are JB, like it was in 2021. And what did we do in 2021? We made a Super Bowl run. So keep the faith. Bengals are looking good to me. I think they're playing good offense. I know it's not fantasy football related, but I want to say it because Who Day. That's all.
Yeah, Who Day. Except for everyone that picked against me because that means you hate Chase, which means you hate the Bengals. Steelers fans everywhere is all I see.
Another fun fact, because you can't go out podcast without talking shit about Marcus and his love for the Steelers. Just for shits and giggles, that Joe Flacco is 1 touchdown away from tying Kenny Pickett's trash ass for he's thrown. So just to show how bad of a fan choice and teams that he likes, he's just an equally bad owner. And if he would have beat me to get into the playoffs, I probably would have retired from fantasy football.
I think I heard another stat that said something that Pickett has the same amount of touchdowns as Joe Burrow this year, and Joe Burrow's been out and hurt and stuff, and he can only do it with Burrow hurt. So he's just garbage.
I'd rather have Jamarcus Russell than Pickett. I mean, Jesus. At least he can throw the ball 90 yards. Pickett can't do shit.
Yeah, you're right.
I will
Oh,
say that
man.
Kenny Pickett probably does watch film, but that's about it.
I could watch film. That doesn't make me a good quarterback.
I watch a lot of film. I watch games.
Yeah.
Can we get his paycheck? I mean, come on.
I just want 1 game check and I'm good.
Get right.
But all right. Anybody else have anything else they want to touch on before we wrap this up?
Now that the playoffs have started, do we want to do Super Bowl picks?
Like amongst the fantasy teams.
Yeah.
We can throw it out there real quick.
Think it's
Your
gonna be-
idea, you can start.
It's going to be me and Antoine.
Okay. That's wrong, but I understand.
I imagine everyone's going to pick themselves. But
I'm gonna second that. Yeah, me and Kevin. That's
there
right.
you go.
I'll do the honorable thing and leave myself out of it.
Because you're
But-
out.
I'm going to beat Antoine for sure. But we'll say, I think it's going to end up being, I think Mark will make a magical run. And he'll get in there via Andy, and Andy will smack the shit out of him. But it'll be a nice magical run until the Legends Football League championship game. But in real life, I'm going to make it and win it all. But keeping myself out of it. That's the scenario. Anyway, Mark, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be me versus Antoine in the chip. So with that, Greg.
Greg.
I just want to say I like how Brian's like, I'm gonna keep myself out of it, and he makes a different pick, and then he's like, but in real life, I'm gonna win it. I like the confidence though. And I want to copy pretty much everyone else. I want to pick myself, the number 1 seed, versus Antoine,
Oh my
Number
god.
16.
Hey.
Antoine.
This is this is Brian's worst nightmare.
Yeah, it is.
All right, Antoine, to pick yourself and somebody.
Yeah. Me versus anybody, I guess, but you.
Yeah, the championship's this week. I will say that the championship is this week because if I lose, Antoine probably will take the chip because all you other sorry asses can't match up to the top 2 teams in the league.
Oh, I mean, I beat both you, so.
That's regular season. That doesn't matter anymore. That's the
Okay.
past. Don't live in the past like the Steelers fans, Greg. Don't live in the past. We're talking about the now, the here and now. Teams are completely different than they were back in the day. Yours
Well,
has
I
gotten
mean,
worse. Mine's gotten better.
it did?
It did. It did. Look at my week 1 roster. I promise you it did.
Oh, sorry. I was going off of the fact that you lost to
I was starting Danny fucking Dimes week 1.
I gotta give this to Brian. Brian manufactured his team more than anybody else.
He's a very, well, I'll add to it. Like his head
He asked
bigger.
for shit,
Very
but then
good.
he's able to make trades.
It's all about the little moves along the way. The little
Yeah,
moves
you're
along
you're
the way.
you're definitely good at it. I'll give you that. You definitely are.
All right, Matthew Lawrence, myself, obviously you're gonna pick, and then whom else?
Now, I'm gonna pick Greg and Antoine as well.
God damn,
You just picked. You said earlier I was winning the whole damn thing.
he
Well,
lies a lot.
Mine again.
He lies a lot. That's why he gets muted because he lies a lot.
Actually, I picked myself. Fuck it. I'm gonna go try. I'm gonna write myself in as the fucking fantasy winner this year. I'm gonna take down the turn bull, and then vicariously, my point total will be more. I'm all over the place. I'm flustered with fantasy football this year. As you can tell, all over the place. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Greg and Antoine. I've changed my mind again. What are you gonna do? Sue me? You can't. Come get me in the turd bowl.
Like Zach Wilson said, we're gonna do bench me again.
Matt, I don't think you can make it out of the first round of the third bowl. So
I don't know. I got to rematch John, and he just whooped my ass last week. So, I mean, it was only 20 points, but no, I don't know. I'm still gonna monitor it. I'm gonna make adjustments. I'm gonna try and win the turd bowl, but it's not gonna make me feel any better. Gotta listen to you guys gloat about, oh, I'm in the fantasy playoffs. How's that feel, Matt? Doesn't feel very fucking good, guys. But I'm glad you're
I will
in.
pick you to win the turd bowl. I'll even know.
The tourney of
Everything
poos.
Fucking
Matthew.
Xavier beats UC once again. At
Hey,
least Army.
hey.
Calm down now. We're getting out of hand.
At least
Yeah, we are.
Getting out of hand. Army did win. I do want to say one last thing myself. There is a trophy. There will be a video presentation I'll get together sometime this week. I've actually been busy at my real life job, but I do want to say there is a trophy available for the winner. And hopefully
Trophy.
have a presentation of a trophy type ceremony situation.
Is this a trophy we'll pass around, or is this a?
Yeah, like if you win, you get it for the year,
Got it.
and you get it all the way to the next championship, and then we can rotate it if you want to have it. If not, I'll keep it at the homestead here.
I'll
So
clean up a spot on my mantle for it.
yeah, but yeah, we'll rotate it around. I'll order little placards. Like I got to order the placard for that says like Legends League, and then each year I can order a placard that says, the name of the winner. So that's all I had. Greg, you wanted to say something, I believe.
Yeah, so we've been doing this podcast for this dynasty season, and it's really grown. It's been fun having different guests on and whatnot. So we talked about it last week, I think, that we are going to continue this beyond the football season and kind of have a sports themed podcast throughout the year. So it would be great if you guys want to join anytime. We can talk basketball, we can talk baseball, talk whatever, right? Sports related. We'll get around to the draft for the NFL, but we thought it'd be something fun to do, and we kind of really hit our cadence with how we've been doing it. And we just thought it'd be something fun to do and just get together, laugh at Matt or have Brian yell at us, whatever it is, just get together. And we also, I know it's been hit on before we started recording with the trophy. The plan is we want to try to get as much of the league together as we can, like at a B-Dubs or something. Have a presentation of the trophy there, and then we'll have also a podcast that will have the trophy on there. But just so we can get the guys together, I think it'd be good. Some of y'all haven't met each other, stuff like that. Obviously, be somewhere somewhat central, like Western Hills. No, just kidding.
Like, what else?
Brian and I have a 5-minute drive. But yeah, I think it'd be fun to do that and to continue getting together with you guys and just kind of giving our opinions on sports and debating and talking about it. I think it'd be fun.
Agreed. All right, well, I guess that's going to wrap up this final regular season episode / the first episode for the playoffs. Let me hear, and we